Cashew here with the DMV.
Has concluded.
The DMVSTREAM.COM player.
Sean Parker along with Nick Iverson.
I always wanted to play volleyball in college.
Cordova trying to dig it out of the boards. And they score!
Hello and welcome to the Prep Zone here on DMV Stream. I'm your host, Matt Present. I'm joined today by Adam Ayalu from Vantage Hoops and Mark Giannato from the Washington Post. Guys, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me on.
A very busy show to get to. A great time of the year as football season and basketball season, they collide here, and we will have both for you coming up on the show. So let's get right to it. Take a look on which games we're recapping and which games we're previewing on today's show. So as you can see, we're going to start off with some basketball. Trinity Episcopal, and they played St. Stephen's and St. Agnes, and then moving on to football, Friendship Collegiate and HD Woodson, and back to the hardwood and Osborne and Herndon, and then a couple more as well. Westfield and South Lakes in football, WT Woodson versus Robinson on the hardwood. So back and forth, and then of course our previews as well. A couple of championship games in the state of Maryland for football. Wise against Quince Orchard in 4A, Damascus playing Franklin in 3A, and then of course the National High School Hoops Festival as well. That's upcoming. And here's how you can catch us on Facebook, on DMV Stream, and on local TV as well. We're all over the place. So if you don't see us this week, you can find us on any of those platforms in the coming weeks, as we're going to have this show for you all throughout basketball season. So before we get into the bulk of the show, we're going to step aside and let BJ Kubarulis tell you how to get your top play featured on DMV Stream.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new season of Top Plays here at OleMetSports.com and WashingtonPost.com. I'm your host, BJ Kubarulis. Now, as we've done the past 4 seasons, we're continuing our exciting, interactive high school football show that allows you, the coaches, players, parents, and fans, and others, to send in your video submissions for ranking in our Top 10 style weekly show. If you want to see your highlight in this show, well, it's as simple as tweeting your boy. I'm at BJ Koob, and you got to remember to hashtag it, Ole Mets. All right, you can tweet in your Huddle, YouTube, Vimeo, really any video link by Sundays at noon, and we'll consider it for use in the upcoming episode of Top Plays. Now, you got to remember to tune in on Mondays to see if your video made our Top 10 at OleMetSports.com. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, BJ, and welcome back. We're going to move right into the weekend rewind, starting with you, Adam, and you saw some high school basketball. We're starting with Trinity Episcopal and St. Stephen's St. Agnes.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of attending the 61st annual Sleepy Thompson at St. Stephen's St. Agnes. Great tournament. I was there last year. Sleepy Thompson Championship this year was between the home team, St. Stephen's St. Agnes, and the team from Richmond, Trinity Episcopal. Trinity actually captured the championship with a 60-50 win over St. Stephen's St. Agnes. The Titans, the Trinity Titans, were led by their sophomore big man, Armando Baycott. Baycott is considered to be, one of the best big men, not only in his class, but over, amongst all classes in Virginia, and he really showed that this weekend at the Sleepy Thompson. He's about 6'9", controlled the paint, played the game with about 4 fouls, played the entire fourth quarter, very smart when he was challenging shots, didn't get into any silly fouls or anything like that, showed his touch from the perimeter, hit a 3, grabbed 15 rebounds, led the team with 18 points, and he was really, really the most integral player for them.
A double-double for him, and that's going to go a long way. I think you said he's only a sophomore, so a lot of room to grow too. What would you say is the strongest part of his game?
He just has a great feel for the game. He's a really good passer for a big man. He's got a real nice touch. He stepped out, he can hit shots from the perimeter. And with his size and mobility, he's really hard to handle. And like I said, he's really smart. He didn't pick up his 5th foul. He played the entire quarter. They went right at him, and he didn't phase out. St. Stephen's St. Agnes also had some really good players in this tournament. They got some nice young freshmen that I really liked. One of them that really stood out was Xavier Lipscomb. He's a freshman, and he played some really good minutes for them. I think he's got a really bright future.
Well, Trinity Episcopal will have another tournament this upcoming weekend. That's the Travis tournament, and they're 4-0, so off to a hot start, and we'll certainly keep an eye on them as the season moves along. Now, Mark, I want to talk to you about some football. Friendship Collegiate 13-0 winners over HD Woodson.
Yeah, this was a pretty eventful game. It actually ended with a benches clearing brawl. They had to end the game with about 1:03 left. Northeast DC rivalry game, some emotions spilled over, but before that, it was a really competitive, tight game between two really good defenses. This was kind of a fitting end for Friendship Collegiate. This was a resurgent season for them after a couple down years. And to end it with a shutout, their third straight shutout, 4th in 5 games, it seemed right for them. You see here on screen that was the touchdown they scored on the first drive of the game, and really with their defense this year, led by Vaughn Taylor, Sam Pearson on the line, Christian Braswell at cornerback. That's all they really needed. They only need 1 touchdown. They didn't give up more than 2 touchdowns to any local opponent this year. Didn't lose to anyone in the area this year. This was their first DCSAA title since 2012, back in their heyday when they were filled with Division I recruits. This team was not that talented, but this defense was just really, really good, a cohesive unit that was, almost the sum was better than the parts, so to speak. They really played together. You're seeing Vaughn Taylor there. He ended the year with 23 sacks, really a dynamic player. Chris Ferguson, their quarterback, had over 100 yards rushing, did just enough to kind of give them some offense. Woodson, their only 2 losses this year were to Friendship, so they had a really strong year as well. A couple D1 recruits on their team. You're seeing Vaughn Taylor here. He was all over the backfield. They tried to double team him, triple team him. Nothing really worked. He had a couple sacks. He had a forced fumble. He had a fumble recovery. He's a guy to watch. He's not committed anywhere, and he seems like he could be a steal for someone because he's got length. He's got a good motor. I could see him being an outside linebacker at the college level. So really good season, really strong ending for Friendship Collegiate, benches clearing brawl aside.
Well, certainly a strong ending, a title, 10 wins on the season, and you mentioned Taylor. Not only that forced fumble, the fumble recovery, but he also changed the game by knocking out the opposing quarterback.
Yeah. Towards the end of the game, he had a big sack on Tyron Robinson, who was already Woodson's backup. They lost their starting quarterback back in September. So really just a great way to end the year for Friendship. They got to be really happy with the season they put together, 10-2, and really harken back to some of those really great teams they had about 5 years ago. A lot of those guys you're seeing in the NFL and in the highest levels of college football right now. I'm curious to see if any of these guys end up there.
Yeah, hopefully. It would be certainly cool to see that once again, watching guys from the area on TV. Let's go back to the hardwood now, though, and take a look at Osborne and Herndon. Osborne 69-54 winners last weekend.
Yeah, I went to Osborne and Herndon in Prince William County last week. Osborne, really well-coached team. Head coach Rocky Carter does a great job getting these guys to compete every night, and it really showed. They played a really well team ball led by their senior, Anthony Pearson. Really competitive guard who likes to get others involved, can shoot the ball from the perimeter. He led the team with 20 points. Another guy who stepped in for them was Zach Powell, the other senior. Scored 19 points for Osborne. They combined for almost 40 points between the two of them. A big key down the stretch for Osborne was not only their defense on Herndon's really talented guard duo Liam Harrington and Mike Griffin, but their foul shooting. Osborne's sophomore point guard Draco Hogan hit 6 of 6 free throws, which kind of helped keep the lead and end up taking it home.
I always say good teams make their free throws. We'll get back to that a little later in the show, but for Osborne, really a 3-headed monster in Pearson, Powell, and Breeding. I mean, that's going to be tough for any team to contend with 3 guys who can put up double-figure scoring in any game.
Yeah, like we said earlier, Pearson's a very competitive guard, leader of the team. Will hit the glass, will shoot from the perimeter, will score down low. He's got really good skill set and footwork, which he showcased on that night against Herndon. Another kid we didn't really talk about earlier was Donovan Breeding. He's pretty much a do-it-all type of player for Osborne. He's not afraid to get down dirty, box out, rebound. He can also shoot the ball from the perimeter. He might be one of the best shooters on the team, if not the best shooter on the team, if you ask the coach. Again, Osborne made a really strong run last year. They lost some key seniors, but it looks like they're ready to compete again.
Osborne 2-1 on the season. We'll keep an eye on them as we roll along. And we have a couple more recaps to get to, but first we're going to take a trip out to DeMatha High School, where 3 of their seniors committed to play basketball in college next season.
Here at DeMatha Catholic High School, Bob Trossett alongside my buddy Marcus Helton of DMV Elite. We are super fired up to be here. College basketball season is right around the corner, and 3 young men really have a chance to shine today.
Yeah, days like this are always fun, getting to see these guys move on to the next level, and they're joining a very, very long list of DeMatha guys who have moved on to play at the college level and beyond.
And we chatted about that before. There's 17 DeMatha grads who went on and currently or used to play in the NBA. What an incredible stat. You know, you think about Oak Hill, you think about DeMatha, they're right in line. What does this school mean to you?
It's fun. I mean, everyone, when they think of this area, when they think of basketball, DeMatha is one of the names that always comes to mind immediately. And, you know, for good reason. There are 17 guys in the NBA. They're going to have maybe another one joining them very, very shortly. Markel Fultz, who was here last year, is at Washington now. I mean, it's success. When people think of DeMatha, they think of success.
A couple times. And let's get right into these guys. Let's start off with DJ Harvey. He's headed to the University of Notre Dame. He joins a long cast of guys formerly who played there at Notre Dame. What do you expect from him going into this year?
DJ's a guy who's highly touted coming in, and he's lived up to that. I mean, he was the first freshman to start here since Adrian Dantley in 1969, 1970, so it's been a long, long time. And, you know, there haven't been a large number of freshmen who've been able to come to this program and play right away.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Prep Zone here on DMV Stream. We're in our weekend rewind segment, taking a look at some of the games that have been played, both basketball and football. We're going back to the gridiron, Mark, and we're going to take a look at Westfield, 42-12 winners over South Lakes.
Yeah, it's the Virginia 6A North Region Final, and it's end of November, early December. That's Westfield's time of year. They're just a dominant program who seems to play their best football when it matters the most. And in this game, they've had kind of an up and down offense this year, but their offense really rose to the occasion. Ramon Johnson, their quarterback, had a dynamite day, throwing to Sean Eckert and Ivory Frimpong, their wide receivers. And combined with a defense that's had a really strong year all year, they really seem to be peaking at exactly the right moment. They're going to face Oscar Smith in the Virginia 6A final, a rematch of last year's final that they won in dramatic fashion. Oscar Smith's only loss this year is to DeMatha to start the year. Should be another really, really good game in Hampton this weekend. Just want to give a shout out to South Lakes. Had a banner season in Reston. And they beat Lake Braddock a week before when no one really gave them much of a shot. So this result really isn't indicative of the type of season they had. Really a great year in Reston there. I guess they probably would want to be in the state final, but no shame in losing in the region final for them.
Well, they certainly got off to a hot start, did Westfield. 21-0 in the first quarter. We'll see if they can ride that momentum to back-to-back state championships. Now, back to the hardwood. W.T. Woodson and Robinson faced off, and W.T. Woodson 58-43 winners, Adam.
Yeah, I was in Fairfax for what's considered a local rivalry between W.T. Woodson and Robinson. Woodson ended up winning the game. Jason Agner led the team. He had 15 points. He scored 12 in the second half. He made 2 threes, and he also connected on 5 of 6 free throws. We talked about free throw shooting earlier. It was also another critical factor in this game. Woodson hit 11 of 16 free throws in the fourth quarter to help clinch this game. One other standout on that team was Brian Hennessy, the junior. He's also a baseball standout. He hit 10 to 10 free throws. He's a very good shooter, and he came up big, especially down the stretch for them. Robinson also had a really good performance from their senior guard, Marcos Eyob. He scored 22, which was a game high, and he scored 16 in the second half. But their comeback was just short as they ended up losing.
Well, you talk about free throws, not only big on an individual basis, but as a team, Woodson 21 of 28 from the free throw line compared to Robinson just 12 of 21. So the game really decided, like you said, at the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can make as many free throws as the other team attempts, that's going to be a good recipe for success.
All right, we're going to be right back on the Prep Zone here on DMV Stream. But first, we're going to take a look at Hoya's Midnight Madness. DMV Stream was there to capture every moment of it.
Today we're at McDonough Arena on the campus of Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., where we're tasked with broadcasting the basketball team's Midnight Madness event live to our client's Facebook page at the Washington Post. Now, considering that this venue is not truck-friendly, we've instead rolled out our Fly Pack kit for this event. Our Fly Pack allows us to produce a multi-camera stream live to the web by marrying together a series of state-of-the-art products and production tools for one easy setup. Now, we've built out our kit and run 4 independent camera angles back to our NewTek TriCaster. Our director is then producing a live show for the viewers at home. We've also tapped into the in-house network, the internet, which allows our director to pull in live graphics from an independent graphics operator who's working on his own system and feeding graphics across that network. Now, even though you can stream directly out of TriCaster, we've opted instead to pull an independent feed directly into an independent encoder called the Teradek VidiU. This great product simply allows you to take an HDMI feed and you can encode that broadcast separately directly to the client's platform, which today is the Washington Post Facebook page. We've run our own audio back from our staging area where our talent is telling the story for the viewers at home. We've also pulled an audio feed from the in-house PA so we can switch over to the in-house DJ whenever we want to send that audio to our viewers at home. All right, for more great videos like these and to learn more about how to broadcast your event, go to DMVSTREAM.com.
Welcome back to the Prep Zone here on DMV Stream. It's now time for our weekly Fast Forward, and we're going to check out a couple of high school football championship games coming our way. Also, the National High School Basketball Festival upcoming. But first, Mark, we'll start with the 4A State Championship.
Yeah, this is a game I've really been looking forward to. Quince Orchard versus Wise. Wise on a 27-game winning streak dating back to last season. The defending 4A state champs really haven't been challenged by anyone this year at all. And but I think QO can give them a game. Quince Orchard's only loss is to defending 3A state champ Damascus, and there's just a lot of really good players involved in this one. You're seeing Jabari Laws throwing the ball for Wise in these highlights. He's the first quarterback in Wise history to throw for more than 2,000 yards in a season. He's got 48 total touchdowns this year. He's got a dynamic group of receivers led by A.J. Lighton, a junior who's you're going to see in a Power 5 conference in a couple years in college football. But I think they're going to be tested by QO. Doc Bonner is a dynamic runner for the Cougars. And they've got Marvin Beander, another really good running back. And it'll be interesting to see, can they establish that running game and can they get an early lead on Wise, who really hasn't had to face any sort of adversity in a long time. Maybe an X factor to keep an eye on is Fofi Bazzi, a DB for Quince Orchard, because of those dynamic wide receivers Wise has. Fofi's going to Maryland next year, but he's going to have to come up big at Navy on Friday night. This should be a really, really good game. Honestly, if I were you, I would head out to Annapolis on Friday night. I really think this is a candidate for game of the year in the area.
Wow. So you mentioned a couple big offensive stars, dual threat quarterbacks, but also the Wise defense. 8 shutouts this season. What's been so key for them on that side of the ball?
They're really good in the front 7. Plus, some of those dynamic wide receivers I was talking about double as really good defensive backs. But up front, Savion Williams is probably the best lineman in Prince George's County, one of the best in the area. Calvin Hickerson, a middle linebacker for them, transferred in from O'Connell, and he's their leading tackler. He's made an instant impact this year. And their head coach, DeLon Parrish, is one of the best in the area, and defense is his specialty, and you see that sort of in the identity of this team. I actually think their defense last year was a little bit better, but that's not really a knock on them because their defense last year was phenomenal, and this defense is just exceptional. So, like I said, they haven't been challenged yet. They haven't had a close game in about a year. So,
All right, so who's your pick? Are they up for the challenge?
I think it's going to be a close game. I'm not picking against Wise. I mean, someone's going to have to beat them for me to believe they're going to lose.
All right, now a really cool event that we have in the area this weekend is the National High School Hoops Festival. That's being hosted at DeMatha High School.
Yeah, 10th annual National High School Hoops Festival this year, DeMatha. So much great talent will be in the area, including 7 nationally ranked teams by Max Preps, and I think 7 teams that are ranked by the Post. The home team, obviously, DeMatha, features some really good local talent. They've got 3 Division I signees in DJ Harvey at Notre Dame, Ryan Allen at Delaware, and Josh Carlton at UConn. So they're going to be, one of the marquees at this contest. Another team from the WCAC that'll be featured there, obviously Paul VI. They'll be, in prime time on Saturday night. Some really good local talent as well on display with Frederick Douglass. It opens up right away with Frederick Douglass has a really good talent. They've got 2 Division I commits in Zion Cousins. Again, they're playing against Cesar Chavez, who has Khalif Tate, really good guard. Douglas also has an unsigned senior by the name of Donald Carey, getting some really good Division I looks at this point. Another good local matchup between Riverdale Baptist, Gwynn Park, followed up by St. James and St. John's. St. James has some really interesting players on their team. They're from Maryland, and they've got a kid named Isaiah Mucus from New York. He's a top 60 player in the country in terms of the 2018 class. And as we mentioned, another really good game, 2 teams that aren't really local but are nationally recognized would be Westtown. Westtown has 3 really highly touted prospects in Mohamed Bamba. He's like a 7-1 senior, still unsigned, but he's considering pretty much like the blue chip schools as well as Harvard. He's a really good academic student. And Westtown also has a kid by the name of Brandon Randolph. He's like a 6'5" wing. He's going to Arizona. And they also have a kid by the name of Cam Reddish. He's a top 5 point guard in 2018. He actually runs the point for them, but he's considered a wing. He's like a 6'7" point guard. So they'll be really fun to watch. They'll be going up against Putnam Science Academy, who has the kid by the name of Hamidou Diallo. He's actually eligible for the NBA draft after this year. So wouldn't be surprised to see some NBA scouts in the gym as well.
Should be a lot of really great talent. 4-star, 5-star recruits will certainly be playing in this game, so check it out. 8 different states and DC all represented in the National High School Hoops Festival. We have one more preview to get to. That's the Maryland 3A State Championship. We'll have that right after this, as Alex Harris from Evolution Basketball stops by to give his film breakdown. Hey guys, I'm Matt President, and I'm joined by Alex Harris of Evolution Basketball, and we're going to break down some film today. On this edition, we'll start off with Johnny Korish, a senior point guard from Madison High School.
Absolutely, yeah. Johnny's had a real nice career so far at Madison, and he's going into his senior year with a couple of really big games, including this first game that we're going to break down a few of the clips from against Oakton High School. The first clip here, pretty simple. Just want to break down just a couple different things. Toughness, speed, aggression. Let's go ahead and rewind and look at that again. Let's go back to the beginning. Johnny's a barely 6-foot guard, ripping the ball from the post player. To me, that just shows toughness, that shows aggressiveness. Go ahead and pause it. Rewind back just a little bit for me. Right there, he's hip to hip with the defender. You've got 4 Oakton defenders right there with him, and he just turns on that extra gear, beats him to the rim. The best way to say it is, you can go ahead and play. Sometimes the best move is no move. Just go by the guy, give the extra effort, get down the court. This is definitely one of those situations where if you're in practice and you're not stopping the ball handler in transition, you're on the line running sprints as a defensive team.
All right, catch the rest of that film breakdown with Alex Harris live on our website, DMVSTREAM.COM. But now we'll move back into our weekly fast forward. One final game to get to, Mark, and that's the 3A state title game with Damascus trying to defend their crown.
Yeah, and it's interesting. They won the state title last year, but the team they're playing in this 3A state title game, Franklin, beat them in a heartbreaker back in 2014. So this is, even though they're the defending champs, there's a little bit of revenge on the line here. Damascus, likewise, who we discussed earlier, is on a 27-game winning streak. Hasn't lost since that 2014 state championship game. This year they feature Marcus Vincent, who's coming off a 7-touchdown performance in the state semifinals. Richmond recruit who is a two-way threat at running back and defensive back and can really catch the ball out of the backfield real well. And for my money, Damascus might have the best offensive line in the area. It's full of juniors, so you just wonder how good they're going to be next year. But led by Jordan Funk and Michael Juergens, I mean, they open up highways for their running backs. It's ridiculous sometimes how much running room these guys have. And if they win a second straight state title, it'd really be remarkable. They're moving down to 2A next year, I've heard, so because of the school size. But to win another 3A would just show just how dominant that program was, and probably will be going forward. So it'd be interesting to see how they handle the emotions of playing against a team that they want to get some revenge against. But I'm expecting a really good game. But I'm not picking against Damascus, just like Wise. I'm not picking against Damascus. They haven't lost in 2 years. I'm not expecting them to lose on Thursday night.
Well, it should be an exciting game nonetheless. You look at Marcus Vincent here, and he could reach the 2,000-yard mark in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, with the way their offense is, it's a rush-heavy offense. If he doesn't reach 2,000 yards, probably means Franklin's having some success. But like I said, that offensive line is really, really good at Damascus. They've got a system. Coach Eric Wallach really has that thing running like a machine. It doesn't really, honestly, I don't think it matters who the opponent is, just because they execute so well. So it'll be interesting to see what Franklin has up their sleeves to slow down that rushing attack. No one's really been able to stop Marcus Vincent all year, though.
Well, a dominant offensive line, a young offensive line, a really good running back, and one more win, we might be talking dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, even if they lose this game, it's been a pretty good run for them. Honestly, the big question last year was, after them and Wise won, was why can't Wise and Damascus play each other? So, but we'll see. I think Damascus is the team to beat, and someone's going to have to prove it before I believe they're going to lose.
All right, many great games this weekend. That's going to do it for us here on the Prep Zone for DMV Stream. For Mark Giannato of the Washington Post and Adam Ayalu of Vantage Hoops, thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, until next week, I'm Matt Present saying so long for the Prep Zone.